Good evening, everyone. Brian here with BMK Magic Explorations. We can see again I'm getting back a bit more into my woolly look, I guess, but on that I've had some other concerns, and for a while now, being able to go and pay a barber $32 to get everything off again may not happen for a bit. So forgive me if I'm getting a bit more back into that overgrown look some. Trust me, it'll get worse a little bit over time before it gets better. Anyway, again, as I'd mentioned in my last video, the Pathfinder film review, you wouldn't get too many videos from me that I am presenting at night or in the evenings. It's usually more early mornings. That's the way I like to do things. But again, my schedule here lately has been where I just don't have as much time to do it that way, as I've been having to do a bit, be gone early in the mornings to take care of a little obligation. So we're having another one here, and this time I'm introducing a little bit of a new video type, similar to my local pickups videos. But this one you're going to see me create a new playlist for mail calls, things which I've had shipped to me, because there's a little bit of a distinction there. Anyway, I was just going to not try to drag this out too long, but I was going to show you guys what I got here in the mail recently from Alibris. At least I think that's how you say it. Alibris. Came to me all the way from Clinton, I think Missouri or Mississippi. I'm not sure which one the MS is for, but I always forget. Anyway, I actually received this on Monday, yesterday, but since the film review, Pathfinder film review video was something I already was planning on doing, and I didn't want to do two at one time, don't want it to be that much and be overwhelming, I just decided to save it and I could just explain. This came yesterday, but I'm showing it off now, which really, as is typical with me, I already opened it, made sure everything's in order, and what we have here is a still mostly new or about new condition copy of the second edition of Wicca and Witchcraft for Dummies by Diane Smith, who is actually a pretty good, knowledgeable author. It's very nice and all. Like I had mentioned in my book review on Astrology for Dummies, I really do enjoy this series, the For Dummies series, and also the Complete Idiot's Guide series, which are both... well, the thing is, they're not real. You can be a perfectly intelligent person and still read, appreciate, and enjoy these books with no problem. Their point being, basically, just for clarification, is even if they're presented in such, they present the subject that the book is going over in such an easygoing, easy to understand, and to learn from manner that even if you just so happen to be, in this case, a dummy, or in the other, an idiot, you'd still more than likely still perfectly understand the subject that you've been reading about. So that's all there is to that. I do understand it can be kind of a little bit of a funny way for them to have named this series or the other one, and it might get a chuckle out of some, but that's just how it is. It makes a good point. As it says here, it's a reference for the rest of us, which really it's a reference for anybody, but I get what they're trying to say. We're making it easy for you. Regardless of how intelligent you may or may not be, this is easy to understand the way that we're giving it to you. So anyway, with this one, it's not an overall one on necessarily witchcraft in terms of, traditional or, say, hereditary systems, stuff like that. This basically focuses on the witchcraft and the system that's found within the neo-pagan religion of Wicca, which, it's kind of how you say when Gerald Gardner, the founder of the Gardnerian tradition, one of the first and earliest, most popularized, I think it was the Bricket Wood Coven he was supposed to have supposedly or allegedly encountered and become part of first, and some may be willing to believe he might have made all that up and never really happened, but I'm one of those who's willing to believe, yeah, it did, and he probably, whether their claims were really all that legitimate or not, I'd be willing to believe that Gardner did believe them. He was willing to, and basically what it is kind of a revival system wherein he had described later on that it was kind of obvious that the system had a lot of gaps and all in some rituals and other aspects of it that just weren't there anymore, probably from being underground for a long time and persecuted, and just with a lot of the old knowledge not retained. So he'd been working in what you'd call systems like Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, and some others, we'd call some of the occult or esoteric or fraternal, magical systems, or ones that are close enough. That he basically took that knowledge and then he worked with Aleister Crowley and some others to add in some other stuff, filler materials for rituals, ceremonies, and like I said, as a form of filler material to flesh things out better. Whoa. Gotta watch that. Don't want to get all over my book. Not even over this. Accidents will happen. No sense crying over spilled milk, though. At least, like I said, it's not all over my book, so. Oy. Set this over there. Ugh. Gotta be more careful. Anyway, and he fleshed out the system better that way, and it became the first, modern day at least, and popularized form of, most popularized form, branch or system of Wicca that we have, and it's branched off into many, many other branches and traditions and such since, and it's pretty much one of the fastest growing religions. I know many prefer the term spirituality, but the term religion, if you look at the way scholars and academics would define it, religion is correct, even though, there's a distinction here where it's not organized religion. Not necessarily disorganized either, but, not really organized. And this goes over a lot of that. You'll learn basic magic, spell work, a lot of the beliefs that are considered pretty, I wouldn't say they're all core tenets. There are some variations, but a lot of the most common ones. I mean, the different branches and traditions and stuff of Wicca that you'll find out there, they all have a lot in common pretty much, and are not super, super different. And it also goes over, like the differences between, like solitary and eclectic practitioners, those who work in covens, things like that. It will probably be a while before I actually give it a full review. I did have a copy of this back in the day before I moved out of my adopted mother and stepfather's home, but it was among the many things I just didn't manage to take with me and retain at the time, so. And unfortunately, I didn't read through the entire thing, so it'll be a while before I read through at least enough of it that I'll feel comfortable giving a book review. But we'll get there at some point. For now, I just wanted to kind of show off that this is what came, and that it is a very nice little acquisition and addition. This one, the way that Diane Smith presents it, from what I recall, what I read through before, back in the day, is very, very good, very concise. It's very thorough. I mean, if you're a neophyte, starting out, or say you're looking at Wicca as your particular neo-pagan path or one you want to look into, this will give you more than enough information to really feel like you've got a very good grasp of things, and there's a little bit more advanced stuff in here. So it is a very good reference to help you get into it. Or, say to even help you give you kind of a refresher. And the one thing about these books, as you know, and the other series too, the For Idiots guides, or the Idiot's Guide series, is that they're not, they're kind of presented in a linear format in a way, but also, it's not like you have to do it necessarily that way. I mean, you don't have to read it cover to cover. You can, it's got a good it lists all the sections, and then after that, all the individual chapters in them. They call the first part Contents at a Glance. And really, if you feel like you know a fair deal about a subject that's coming up here, or a particular topic in the book, you could choose to just skip ahead to what you would find more interesting. Or personally, my recommendation would be is a lot of times you find that there are some things that it is telling you about that you may not know about or as much about. So my advice would be go ahead and read anyway. You might learn a bit more. So it's a really just easy to digest format where you can go through it as you wish. You read it cover to cover if you want, or just read the parts you prefer and maybe consider the others. And it's excellent, so. And like I said, it basically just covers Wicca as religion and its form of witchcraft, which I really wouldn't want to say that it's necessarily always derogatory, but I know some who, have, like I did back in the day, kind of got started. Wicca was one of the, pretty much the first system I discovered and started off with after having realized my beliefs were more along the lines of being able to believe in a more magical, enchanted world and nature to things, from a much earlier age. Well, then when I was about 9, entering my preteens, I found a copy of Dorina Dunwich's book. I don't have one to show you now because I don't own a copy now. The Wicca Spell book in one of my local retailers. Realized it's a book on magic and, also kind of the system behind it. Got my adopted mother to buy it for me, and then later on I'd buy more books like this and all and get further off into, and, well, some would describe, again, like I'd say, I wouldn't say it's necessarily derogatory, but Wicca as being a bit of witchcraft light. It harkens back to the past while having been mostly revived and but otherwise more new, with a lot that really wouldn't have, or probably didn't exist back in the day with any of the paleo-pagan roots it may have or had. But it still does look back towards the past and all, and honors that, and there's some genuine stuff here. So, it may be, as some would say, not necessarily derogatory, but kind of witchcraft light. It is in a way, but Wicca also, whether you're starting off as a neophyte or a seeker who's looking at what path to choose, in my experience, Wicca is any of the branches or traditions in Wicca is generally overall a good neo-pagan religion and a good path to get your start on. Sure, you may move on to some others later on, and I've known quite a few who, although they moved on being more eclectic into other neo-pagan religions and systems, they still, most of them seem to retain a lot of what they took from Wicca too, and didn't lose all that. So yeah, it's a very good starting point. Wicca really does have a lot in common with a lot of the other neo-pagan religious systems like it, Druidry, Heathenry, among many others, and despite it being a fairly different thing than traditional or hereditary witchcraft, there are some commonalities there too, so again, my point is basically it's just a very good starting point. And a book like this is an excellent way to start digging into it, or again, if you already have plenty, to serve as kind of a refresher for what you already know, and maybe get you into some aspects that you might not have known about or known as much about. So anyway, again, I didn't want this video to run too long. I will be creating the category for my playlist of mail calls to stick this into, as I mentioned earlier. So that way it's more or less kind of, pretty basically easy to search in my playlist so that you won't have to look all the way through all my videos to find it. That'd get kind of trying if someone had to do that every time. And unfortunately, with this one, I don't really have any recommendations and links to give on it. It's basically just a mail call video, so why? But in the meantime, if you enjoy this channel's content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And please don't hesitate to leave any questions, comments, or suggestions down in the comment section below. I once again hope I and this channel have helped to bring just a little more magic into your lives. Have a blessed Tuesday while we're going into Wednesday now, so a blessed Wednesday too. Take care, and hopefully I'll see everyone back again for the next video.